Two Kids and a Career is produced by Jill Devine Media.
Oh my gosh, game changer.
It is. And
It is a game
every
changer.
time somebody challenges me with something, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" Well, I don't know what I don't know, but I'll do everything in my power to try and figure it out. And it's just evolved and evolved and evolved.
Two Kids in a Career is brought to you by Blondin Real Estate. They're a family owned boutique style brokerage with over 40 years of experience serving the counties that surround St. Louis. See the properties they have to offer at blondinrealestate.com. That's blondinrealestate.com. Hi there, and welcome to Two Kids in a Career. I'm Jill Devine. As an entrepreneur, wife, and mama, the daily grind of trying to build a business while taking care of kids and trying to maintain a healthy connection with my hubby, it's a lot. With this podcast, you're going to hear candid conversations with other moms, parenting experts who can share their knowledge and insight, or you'll just hear me rambling to get it all out. There's going to be tears, there's going to be laughter, but most importantly, there will be support. Take a listen and connect with me so we can grow and learn from one another. This is Two Kids and a Career. It is so crazy how things work and come together. I was sent an email by my lovely friend Jen, and she has been on the podcast before, Socially Inspired, formerly known as Socially Jen and Co. And she said, Jill, I think that you would really like to talk to this woman by the name of Teresa. And when I started looking at your website, Teresa, I had two distinct memories come to mind and thought, if I only had her back then, but I have you now. So welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
I want to hear your story and how you got to where you are right now. And then I'll tell you my two stories because I will say this. I hold on to memories. I love to be able to keep these things in my walls, so to speak. Like I might hoard a little too many memory items, but I like to just have things because it does provide those memories and provide happy times and just make me reflect. So that's why I'm super excited to talk to you about uh, the business. But let's start with the early days with Teresa. What led you to get to where you are now?
So that's a really good question. I was visiting my great grandmother in Kentucky, and her family Bible was near me. I picked it up, and obviously, hundreds of flowers flew out. And my first instinct, I was going to be in trouble. I mean, I'm like 10 years old and fidgety. And so she came to my rescue and picked them up one at a time and was saying, "This is from your mom. This is from your grandpa. This is from my son. This is for what reason?" And it just like took her back to a place in time. And I equate that to like music can take you back to a place in time. It's
Yes.
exactly what she was reliving. And I never forgot it. I always thought that, after my mom passed, knowing that every summer before she left, she spent the summers with her in Kentucky, that she would pick a flower, a wildflower or whatever was near, and give it to her and like, "Hey, this is my memory." And that was a great special story. And now my mom's passed. I would love to have had that, documented some information. It meant a lot to her. It would have meant a lot to me. But with her passing, also passes all the information. The flowers, can only imagine are brittle. We don't know who they came from. And it got lost. And those things that were meant so much to her, it just is now all meaningless. It means nothing. But I would like to have had something from that era in her life. So during my MBA, I had opportunity to create a widget because I had a emphasis in marketing. And instead of spend the time and effort on something that's already been created, I thought to myself, I want to develop an album. I went through the whole process of patenting and prototyping and putting that together. That was like 10 years ago. And I always thought that at some point when I have time, I'm going to pursue that further. I actually talked to a product development coach about what I was doing, and he was a substitute judge on Shark Tank. I was able to somehow figure out how to start working in the microwave, preserving every type of flower. It took me months to come up with the components, but I finally figured it out, and I paired them together with my album and my kit. And I have patent pending on both of them. And that's how it evolved. It started with this experience with my great grandmother and seeing a loss there for our family as far as keepsakes, and then how there's a need for it. And invention comes out of need. And that's got me from my first experience with it to where I'm at currently right now, trying to launch a product line during a pandemic.
It's fun, right?
Well, it was not my business plan. I thought I had it figured out. I worked with people who helped me put timelines together, and and then this hit out of nowhere. So, yeah, it's very difficult, very challenging. So just how to jump over those roadblocks.
We will talk about that because that's super important to talk about, but let's first talk about the name of your company and what you are offering to individuals.
Well, I originally had a couple other names because I've been working on this for like probably 10, 12 years. And I started working with a marketing group out of Manhattan, and they felt like that the name that I had chose didn't reflect what I was doing. In today's market, your name needs to say what you're doing. So that's where we come up with the Floral Preservation Company. That's exactly what we do. Um, I have a kit that I've created, all the components. It We work with materials that are reduce the footprint, and that's something that was really important in the early development, and that wasn't easy to find, like how it would be all encompassing. But I figured out every component in the kit. If you sit down and you want to preserve your flowers or those keepsakes, you don't have to go buy anything else. It's all there. All you need is a microwave. So we have that all encompassing kit, and I have three different types of albums. I have an all occasion album, so you can, whatever it is, birthday, anniversary, Mother's Day, any graduation, any life moment that you want to have a keepsake, then I have a patent pending sleeve that you can put it in. It's airtight, protects it, doesn't fall out like my grandma's Bible when you pick it up,
Yep.
because it's sealed. Have a photo with it, and also document it. What happened? What was so special about that day? Um, why the keepsake? Because they they do mean something, and they do trigger memories. And then I have an at peace album because I've done many funerals for people that are just now figuring out the thing that they would say, I didn't know it was a thing. And reaching out to mostly people with tragedies, not having time to do everybody's, and then not having anything to put it in. So that sparked my at peace album, and then I have a forever and always wedding album because I've done weddings too, and nothing to put them in because you need to have it airtight and you want to have it sealed. So that's the product line I have right now: albums, which gives your preserved flowers a home, and also a kit to preserve your flowers.
So I will share my 2 stories with you. The and this is crazy because I think it was either right before I was introduced to you or right after. I was cleaning out my daughter's, her dresser, and I had given her when I was little, I had the Precious Moments Bible, like, Precious Moments were so big, and I had bought that, and I remember, like, thinking how great it was that I had this Bible, and so I had kept it, and I put it in her dresser. Well, I pulled it out, and I started looking at it because I had wrote some notes in there when I was younger, and then all of a sudden I opened it up and I was like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh." The flower from my grandmother, my dad's mom, when she passed away, all of the grandkids were given a flower, and I honestly
Wow.
didn't think I didn't think I kept it, but I remember them saying, um, "Go say your goodbyes. You can leave the flower with her or you can take it." And I thought I left it with her in her casket, but I didn't. I put it in my Bible because I remember my one cousin keeping it, and I was thinking, "Well, why would he keep that?"
Hmm.
And I remember him saying something about wanting to always remember, and so I kept it, and so I opened up that Bible and I saw it, I was like, "Oh my gosh." This is from my grandma's funeral. And so the other, and this is exactly what you just talked about, the other flower story I have is from my wedding. So we got married in Mexico. And I've I was really concerned because they were like, "You cannot bring any flowers back home with you," or anything like that, and I was like, "Well, I want something. I need something to bring back home. I want a flower to bring back home because I knew that I could have it, it would dry, and it would be perfect, and I would have it as a memory." So, like, I snuck it, and I don't even know what I did. Well, I put it in a plastic bag and brought it home, and I don't know, days later, I went to go get it because I was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna put it in between some pages and get it dried out." It was it was wet and
Oh,
gross and disgusting, and I had to throw it away, and so I don't have that memory, and so when I saw all of your stuff, I was like, "This is this is exactly what we need in our lives. This is exactly for those who hold on to the memories and want to physically see them. This is it."
well, just to interject real quickly, when you got that flower home and it was wet and disgusting, what I've learned through the evolution of my kit is that if you put that in the freezer for 2 minutes, it makes it brings it back to a pliable state where now you could now put it back into, my preserving boards and the quick dry papers and put it in the microwave. Isn't that crazy? I don't know how I
Ah,
figured it out, but I was having problems with some flowers, and I was just thinking of anything. I was looking for every possible solution, and I don't know. It's unprecedented. You can't go on YouTube and find it because it's not a thing. So I had to really just figure it out on my own. And that same scenario you just said, we could have saved that flower
ah.
still, even after you brought it back. And my question to you is when you told me about your grandma's flower in your Bible, is the same experience that I had, but didn't it trigger a memory?
Oh, totally. It brought me back to that day of the funeral, but then
Exactly.
just my time with her, and, like, I think I was in 7th grade when she passed, and, uh, I yeah, I just wish I had, obviously, more time with her, but I if that was out and about every single day for me to see, it would just it's just a good story to tell. Like,
It's a great story. Right.
I can seriously remember, just that day. I remember certain components about that day and, ah, just from a flower.
So I was talking to my patent attorney, and she was every story is just like yours, Jill. I have every conversation I have 99% of the people have a story like yours that if I would have only known, if I would have known about this, if I could have saved it. And I keep going back to this same saying that I get from everybody: I didn't know it was a thing. Well, we want to share to get the information out there and share it with people. Don't automatically think you have to toss your flowers or you have to throw them away or you don't send flowers because they just die. It doesn't seem like that a gift that is lasting. Now it is a thing, and we want to share that information with people. I want to help every individual on this planet. If it's important to them, then I want to personally know they have a perfect outcome. I have a hotline. They have a number straight to me. They have an email to me. I've had people email me and call me, and when they're kind of a roadblock, then it's so nice to be able to help them because I'm personally invested. I want them to have those memories, and just as you shared, it is a trigger. We want to let the world know if it's important to you, we can help you.
So one of the things that I guess I should say it's kind of been a theme of the podcast, especially in season 4 and continuing into season 5, the talk of small business owners. And we will talk about your story launching during a pandemic, but more importantly, I want to talk about the grit of small business owners because I wanted to share this with you because I feel like this is something that you can resonate with as well. But with me and creating my small business, there have been times that I have wanted to give up. Not necessarily give up, but more of a what am I doing? And it starts back before this small business was even created. It starts back from when I did lose my initial job and I had the women of Evoke Creative contact me to say, "Jill, you are more than just who you were on the radio. You have so much more to offer with this podcast, and we can get you a website to talk about some of the other things that aren't happening on the podcast, but that you love. And it really kind of started with those two women. I mean, it all started with those two women being small business owners saying, hey, we want to help you become a small business owner and help me create this wonderful area in my life. And I wanted to bring them up because they did create my website. They have helped with the relaunch of this podcast, and they're a small business. They get it. They understand. They want other small businesses to succeed, and they want to help you do that. So I just wanted to mention them: digital content creation, website building, digital marketing, all of it. EvokeCCO.com. You won't be disappointed. I can tell you from firsthand experience. EvokeCCO.com. And one of the things that I have expressed to them is whenever I do feel like, what am I doing? And how can I justify losing sleep or not spending a day with my family in that moment? I will get notes or meaning an email or a Facebook message or an Instagram DM or a text from a friend that says, hey, I just heard that podcast episode and wow. Or I just read that blog and that gave me a great idea of things to do with my kiddo. And so those are the things I know that fuel me and help me keep going. And I think that that's what it happens to be with a lot of small business owners. Obviously, we want to have an income to, keep that roof over our head, but it's beyond bringing in the money. It's those connections that we're making with people. And I feel like you're the exact same way, Teresa, when you hear about the stories when it comes to the memories that are brought up, like I told you.
Absolutely. And there it in the smallest way, we can make a difference. This may not seem like a lot, but you pulled out a memory that you didn't even know you had, and it meant something to you when you did that, what a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever that you were able to save that. And like we talk about the passion, I could honestly say, if I could just break even, I will feel like I'm a winner.
Yeah.
Just to break even because these are unprecedented times. But I am personally invested, and if somebody has a bad outcome, I take it personal. Like, I don't want that to happen. I want to be on call 24/7. I want you to email me. I want to walk you through it because I know maybe not tomorrow or a week from now or 2 weeks from now, but I can tell you a year from now or 10 years from now and you open your book up, you're going to relive that moment and you'll be so glad that you took the time to do it. And I want to be a part of that memory and that forever keepsake that's going to you can pass down for generations now because it's one difference in what we do. I don't know if you saw our before and afters is when you have flowers, sometimes they're old or dried or brittle. It doesn't bring back a nice warm and fuzzy because they look like they need to be in the trash can or they're dead. But it's
Right.
still that flower you want to keep. With our process, what I found is the heat sets the color in the beginning. So first couple times you got your color, and depends on your time frame. Do you want to do it in 2 or 3 minutes, or if you're busy, you could do it over a week. It doesn't really matter. It's never too late. But what you're going to have with these flowers versus saving them in a book is you're going to have color, you're going to have texture, and you're going to have a happier, brighter memory. If that makes sense.
The other thing is when I look at your stuff too, I mean, it's art. I mean, you could put it in the different frames or what have you, and it's art in your house. But then it's the memory associated with that. Like, why wouldn't you want to do something like that?
Right, and we talk about creating family memories, like, I was challenged to do dried, to do the, wildflowers. I did spring flowers. I hadn't really looked at maybe wildflowers so much, and there's so much beautiful art out there with wildflowers. I think I sent you some before and afters. But it's a great family opportunity to go out in the summertime, collect your wildflowers, and go home because they're so easy. They're not multi-layer like your roses or your chrysanthemums or your carnations, which are going to take a little more drying time because of more layers. Your wildflowers are a single petal pretty much, and you're less than a minute 15 seconds at the top. Now you've got a completely preserved, beautiful colored flower that you can in the afternoon start creating art with. that's something that evolved through this process too. And then we just did all the fall leaves. We made cards out of them. They they dry in 15, 20 seconds in the microwave and they last forever, the color. Um, and then going back to talk about artwork, I've done wedding flowers where we put them in frames and been able to give them back a keepsake or a shadow box. It's endless. So the opportunities are, you have your, I look at your wedding flowers, your funeral flowers, your all occasion flowers, your wildflowers, your herbs. You can save herbs and start saving them, instead of throwing them away when you have fresh herbs. Dry them and start putting them in a shaker. We've done that. They're great Christmas
Oh,
gifts. Then you have your, like, your boxwood, your greenery. It makes beautiful art. It's so popular right now, and that's in less than a minute that you can preserve your greenery. And then, not last, but you can bring those flowers back from 10 years ago. And I'm actually doing a friend's. Uh, Her mom passed away 25 years ago, and I'm getting ready to bring those back to life for her and give them back to her in an album instead of a glass frame that they're disintegrating.
I love that. I also love the herbs. I mean, we grow a lot of herbs and I waste a lot of
Yes.
herbs. So that's a fantastic idea. And
Well,
I don't
well,
know
we
how to
found it.
do any of it.
What's so nice about this kit, and I'd say that every household in the world should have one kit. It will last you a lifetime. You have to buy one kit. I've done 400 or 500 flowers with 2 preserving boards. They're not
Wow.
pretty. They might look, they might warp a little bit, but that's fine. You flip them over. It doesn't matter. The material and the component that it's made of is going to last a lifetime. So you just need one kit. So if you want to dry herbs, say you're cooking dinner, a spaghetti dinner, or whatever, you have your cilantro or you have your parsley, whatever it is, rosemary. You get fresh and they give you so much, and before you can use it all, you're going to throw it away. Well, now you don't have to. Use your fresh and then preserve it in a minute in the microwave, crunch it up, put it in a bottle, either give it as a gift or now start collecting all of those fresh herbs that you were probably going to toss. Now you don't have to. So it works out great, and it still preserves the flavor. So you're not compromising
Genius.
anything by preserving in the microwave.
Oh my gosh. Game changer.
It is. And
It is a game
every
changer.
time somebody challenges me with something, "Can you do this? Can you do that?" Well, I don't know what I don't know, but I'll do everything in my power to try and figure it out. And it's just evolved and evolved and evolved. So when the first time, I never even thought to bring back, like, old roses from a wedding bouquet that was 5 or 6 years old, but I was challenged. Like, "Okay, you can do all this, but can you do this?" I'm like, I don't know, but it makes sense because if I'm dehydrating, then I must be able to hydrate somehow and get water back in that flower and then see what I can do. And I was able to figure it out and save dozens and dozens of flowers that were disintegrating and that were just about to. My patent attorney, for example, hers were 25 years old and she threw them away at the 11th hour. And now she knows, now if she would have just known about it, she could have done something different.
Right.
She wouldn't have had to toss them.
So, something you referenced at the beginning of this episode, the pandemic. You're so excited. You've got your product, you've got a timeline, you're getting ready to do a launch, and then a pandemic hits.
You know what? If
Ah.
I if I had 2020 sight like all of us, I prob I probably would have just froze where I was at because we were supposed to launch in Manhattan at the Savas Center I believe the 22nd to the 25th of March. It was a global world floral expo,
Wow.
perfect for what we needed. People like to feel, touch, hold, see. You know, we're a visual society and we had everything ready. We worked months to get it ready. And 2 weeks before we were supposed to be there, which was going to, all this investment, time, effort, you know, my 401k,
Yeah.
we were ready. And then it turned into a hospital the week we were supposed to be there. And you don't know what to do. You can't backpedal. You've already got your investment. You've already spent money you cannot get back. Um, so what do you do? Looking for ways around it. And, one trade show after another got canceled, obviously. But who would have known? We were thinking in March that maybe by November we'd be free and clear, that we'd get back to life. Well, that didn't happen. So, yeah, incredible struggle. I have a lot on the line, trying to figure out how to keep moving forward so we can actually get to the trade shows so that we can demonstrate what we do and what we have. Because it's hard to paint a picture with somebody, even though your pictures paint 1,000 words. It's hard to have that conversation, and unless they see it for themselves, you don't really have a wow factor here with my kit and what it can do unless you see it in person, if that makes sense.
I was in the process of launching this podcast outside of what it was when I was on the radio during a pandemic. Same deal. Like the women that had invested in me to help me establish that LLC and everything. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, you had that conversation like, well, I can just stop or I can just be honest with people and say, I'm doing this, but there's probably going to be some mess ups along the way, but I'm trying. And i- it's interesting what you can pull from within to keep going and to be strong and just to do it. Now, I'd be lying if I said, and I openly admitted this recently, that there were a lot of dark days. I had some major dark
Absolutely.
days, but
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know
there
if
with
this.
you.
Okay,
I
good.
can
So
relate.
I'm glad you can't, because it is hard, and but I don't know, I'm gonna speak for you, maybe you can confirm or deny, but whenever I would start to just be like, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I doing this to my family?" I'd get a message, and whether it was an email or something through social media or a text, and it just made me rise up because it was like the whatever it may be, your
You got a little
podcast.
shot in the
Yeah.
arm, just a
Mhm.
little bit to
Yep.
just see hope. And I could tell you, I've had a lot of dark days. I have a lot invested. R&D has been a lot. Trying to get manufactured has been almost impossible for a pandemic and getting my product here. So, and having a marketing team and having a social media team, and you're aware of the social media team, that's how we're connected, um, has been extremely difficult. But in my darkest days, I can tell you that I might not have got that email or I might not have saw a light or something, but I have a very strong faith and I believe that it's going to be okay. And when I give it, up and I say, you know what, I'm going to believe in this and I know that it's all going to be okay and I'm just going to have faith and let it go and just keep moving forward, then I'd have a little bit of a relief from the agony and the anxiety, right?
Yep.
That it gave me hope. Just to have faith gave me hope. And I've hung on to the strongest faith I've ever had in my life during this last year.
Same, and you may not know this, this is all recent, but I just got a job at my church.
That is inspiring.
Well, let's talk about something inspiring with you. What I find inspiring is this article. Most women know who David Terra is. When you think about weddings, he's one of the first names I think about. Um, but he's endorsing your product. Let's talk about it.
I actually flew out to meet David and his family in his home, and we put a video together to talk about like his experience with flowers and how it mirrored my experience with flowers, similar but different, but we have the same goal at the end is that we want to how do you preserve them? That's his number one question he get. That's what we get from most florists and even the funeral directors. The number one question is, what do we do with the flowers? How do we preserve them? Because it's not a thing, right? I can only keep saying that over and over again. But so I was able to be out there and get to have a conversation with him. He got to do hands on. He actually, I sent brought flowers and I gave him my kit. I just handed it over and he was able to preserve his own flowers. And he said, "Oh, I can make art out of this." And he goes, "I didn't know you could do this and this." So actually do it yourself. And I have a library of YouTube's how to's and on my website, do's and don'ts and FAQs. So it's everything possible that would be a roadblock or make you have a not a good experience. And I've tried to address that. I did the same with him. So I had him watch a video ahead of time. And so he was able to preserve his flowers, invited me in his home. We did a great video. And yes, and now he's endorsing us. So, you know, that came out of COVID. I can honestly say that he didn't have time to talk to us or have anything to do with us until all of his life came to hit a brick wall too, right? Because no
Mhm.
weddings, no events. That's his livelihood. And so they were looking out for other opportunities. And we were on the table in January and never got a second look until June. And then all of a sudden they're reaching out saying, maybe there is something here. So all the bad that comes out of COVID, there, like you said, that one email or that one shining moment, we were able to connect and now, have this partnership, which came out of nowhere as well.
That is just such an awesome story and another great testimony of having that faith. You can get your kits and all the other good stuff that you need to create these memories and make them into keepsakes by visiting Teresa's website at floralpreservationco.com. And I will have that information also on the show notes at jilldevine.com. I just want to tell you, I am very inspired by your story too, and your grit and your determination. And I also want to just thank you for opening up and being completely honest when you say, I had dark days too, and it was hard and it was not easy at all. So thanks for sharing that part of your story as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. And hearing your story, and I think what really helps, Jill, is when you hear people talk about their dark days, it's humbling to share that because we want to
Yeah.
act like we don't need nobody and we're strong and we're going to get through this. And I'm a strong woman and smart, but we all have dark days, and when people share that, it just makes you feel like, okay, I'm not alone. And it's
Yes.
comforting to hear someone say, yes, I've had those dark days and I got through them, and this is how. And the more people share their stories, the more help that we're going to give to other people, and then they'll share them back to help us back. So that's why I feel like I always want to share my story, as humbling as it is, that just know that everybody's not alone. You can't have it all and have it all be perfect. It's just not going to happen. And I've had to realize that.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This is a blessing.
I am ready to tell you all about this week's Supermom shout out. It is going to Kelly of St. Louis, and she was nominated by her sister in law, Jill. Jill said not only is she a supermom to her kids, she's a supermom to all her dance studio dancers as well. She's had to manage running her small business and keeping her dance family safe, and she's adjusted by having outdoor classes and, of course, virtual classes. Even with no recitals and limited competitions, she's tried to plan things to make her dancers still have a time to shine. She teaches them about their bodies and life lessons, not just dance. Kelly has instilled a sense of responsibility and empathy in her own kiddos, and that makes me so proud to be related to them. She balances education, activities, and service in her kids' day-to-day lives. I think she's done a fantastic job in these circumstances to keep her family healthy, yet find ways to get them active and engaged in the world. Kelly, I see you and I support you. If you have a Supermom nomination, all you have to do is email me, hello@jilldevine.com. And I want to let you know, if you want to nominate yourself, you can do that. Self-nominations are welcome. Just tell me her name or your name, where she or you are from, and why you're making the nomination. As always, thank you for listening to Two Kids in a Career. Can I ask you to share this with your friends and family? Maybe this has been your favorite episode and you want to share it with them, or there was a past episode that you loved, and I'm asking you to share that with them. I just want to be able to get in the hands of others and let them know about Two Kids in a Career. So really, just hitting subscribe or rating and reviewing or all of the above, that will help do that. So thank you in advance, and thank you for supporting Two Kids and a Career.